All right, welcome to the Norwood Zoning Board meeting of November 4th, 2025. This meeting is being recorded by Norwood Community Media and also GoToMeeting. I'd ask everyone to silence all electronic devices. We only have one matter hearing before us, so we'll hear from the applicant after I read the public notice. This case is case 25-23, 19 Leiden Street. Notice is hereby given that the Board of Appeals of the Town of Norwood will hold a public hearing on November 4th, 2025 at 7 p.m. on the request of Ralph Carillia. Ralph, please forgive me. Case 25-23 with respect to the property located at 19 Leiden Street, Norwood 02062 in the General Residence Zoning District. The hearing will be held at the Norwood Senior Center, 275 Prospect Street, Norwood, Mass. 02062. It will also be available for remote participation via Google Meet. The application requests a special permit pursuant to Norwood zoning bylaw section 5.4.4 to construct an addition to the pre-existing non-conforming home within the front setback. The addition increases the habitable floor area by more than 25%. Any zoning relief that may be required in adherence to the Norwood zoning bylaws shall be considered by the board. Interested parties are encouraged to attend the hearing and make their views known to the board. Plans are on file with this application in the office of the Zoning Board of Appeals and may be requested by emailing comdev@norwoodma.gov Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. I know you so long, I should know how to pronounce your last name, but Ralph, if you come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, Ralph Caralla, owner of RK Construction Company, 37 Cross Street, Norwood. I'm representing Travis Henry, 19 Leiden Street, for a proposed addition to his first floor in his home.
Very good. And just briefly, what are you doing here, Ralph?
We're adding on a great room and a full bath and a mudroom. We're removing existing mudroom to allow for this addition.
Okay. And the purpose of the addition, as I read it, but what's the purpose of the addition? You have someone that you're going to be caring for in your family?
Potentially, yes, his mother, mother-in-law. And as they get older, there's no first floor bathroom on the home.
Right.
Okay,
So that's really the whole reason for this.
okay, okay. Any questions? Al, I'll start to the right.
I have it at this time.
Yeah.
I see that you are farther from the front of the street than the current structure. I don't know, the plan doesn't seem to show the exact width of the addition, but it looks like maybe 15 feet in width, the new portion.
The larger portion, yes, it's 16 by 16, the largest portion.
Oh, well, that was a pretty good eyeball there. I guess my concern is the addition, notwithstanding that it's farther from the street than the current structure, it's like really a 16-foot wide structure that's still 9 feet where 20 is required. So it's significantly closer. So it's really increasing the encroachment there, and I'm wondering if you can explain the placement there as opposed to the back of the structure where you have plenty of space with the rear setback, so we wouldn't be looking at any new encroachment.
So part of it, I'm sorry, this is my driveway right here.
Yep.
So the idea is access to the driveway, and there's just a bark mulch area here. So the idea is to minimize the amount of yard we're losing while giving access to the driveway, so it'll be easier when, you know, my mother-in-law needs to come in and out. We're assuming when she comes to us, is going to be in a wheelchair. And then, you know, eventually we plan on being here too. So we just want to make sure we have easy access to the driveway.
Mm-hmm.
The house, the lot has a very large slope between the garage and proposed addition and on the left side of the home. So it goes down quite rapidly at the garage back.
Right, we're in
Yeah.
L,
I saw that on the
The
plan.
mudroom's gonna be very much adjacent to the driveway, so there's a mudroom entrance, and the main entrance into that area is close to the driveway. It's awesome.
I did see that on the plan, like really where that larger portion, I'm assuming the mudroom, and could look more closely at the plans, but it looks like the mudroom is that little bump out that's closest to the street, that's the mudroom?
Yes.
And then, yeah, was there any thought in moving that mudroom farther back so that everything is more in line where the garage is? Because the garage appears to be within the setbacks, and that's why it wasn't, the distance wasn't noted on the plan. I'm assuming that means that it was within the 30 feet, or outside the 30 feet, I mean, excuse me.
Just for the reason on how it sits on the home and getting as close to the driveway as possible for easy access. And plus, we're opening up into the kitchen, that new room. The kitchen's very small, so we're opening that up into the new room. If we were to push it back further to meet the garage, the mudroom and the bathroom would be right into the kitchen. Right now, the bathroom's off the existing hallway as we have it planned. So the plan wouldn't really work as well or be as functional if we were to push it back.
Okay.
Which is
Oh,
the slope of
because it
the,
doesn't show here, but this is sort of where the kitchen ends.
Right.
It's like a sunroom here, and this is where our stairs are.
We can
So
open up the
here's where the
architectural
floor
plans.
plans.
Yeah. Yeah, I see the plan right there.
So it's really the only spot we can kind of cut through the wall.
Mm-hmm.
it just seems to make the most sense. So the mudroom would be going directly into the kitchen, where now it's kind of, leading into the,
Yeah, while you're pulling up that plan, I mean, floor plan aside, because that's not really what we do, I'm just thinking about, like, it's really kind of the creation or extension of a new encroachment where there wasn't any structure before, and it's really close to the street, and just driving by there, it's one of the closer houses to the street compared to the general area.
We
Like,
tried
that's
to
what
keep
I'm
it-
thinking about.
we tried to keep it back, further than the existing home, and trying to be as far back as we could to still get it to be functional.
There we
and-
go.
And easy access for the mother-in-law and stuff, so. We did look at those options, it just didn't seem to work right with the flow of the existing home.
Thank you. I don't have any other questions.
What is the percent increase? I know the application says 20, it's over 25%, but what is it in habitable square footage with the addition? Is it on the?
27.
It's 27, oh, okay.
It's
That's pretty
27.
minimal.
Yeah, the house is very small.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have any
Yeah,
questions.
yeah. Yeah, just to your point, Rachel, the house was built in 1880, and that's when they built houses close to the street.
Yeah.
It is set back from where the original house is a little bit, but does create another violation, but it is not conforming. So, and it's only 2% over. If the house was just a little bit bigger, you wouldn't even need to be here, but it is 27%. Living area is 923 presently, and they're adding 256 square feet. I don't have anything else. Does anyone else have anything?
No, good.
Anyone? Good? Is everybody good? Yeah. Is there anyone here on GoToMeet? And there's no one here from my eyesight that's here. Thank you. If there's no further discussion, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Moved by Al to close the public hearing.
Second.
Seconded by Shannon. Deanna, closing the public hearing.
Yes?
Shannon?
Yes?
Rachel?
Yes.
Al?
Yes.
Yes, the public hearing is closed. What are the wishes of the board? Zero.
It's a pretty small addition. There's some challenges on this parcel, it seems like, just with the topography and the quick drops that you have coming off. It's interesting, actually, and I had noticed that the house right next to you occupies a fair amount of the frontage of the parcel as well. And also just appreciate there's no point. It's challenging to spend a lot of money on an addition if the flow of the house isn't necessarily working in the way that you would like to, and it is at least further back from the street, so I don't have any issues with the case as presented.
Anything else?
No, I
Just
mean,
your comments.
to the extent that it's like a little bit over and that's what kicks us in here.
Yeah.
But I am aware that, you know, in most cases, we're building off the back where there's all of this space. So I'm just sensitive to that distinction.
Any other comments? Is there a motion? Motion
Motion to approve
approved as submitted?
as submitted.
Yep, there's been a motion made to,
Second.
and it's been seconded by Shannon. Al on the motion?
Yes.
Shannon on the motion? Oh, sorry, Rachel on the motion?
Yes.
Shannon on the motion?
Yes?
Dan on the motion?
Yes.
Yes. Good luck.
Thank you.
Good,
Thank
nice
you
to see you
so
again,
much.
Ralph.
Have a
Good
good
luck.
evening.
Yep,
Have a
good luck.
great night.
Yep.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank
The comprehensive plan strategy. I think this is Alex, right?
It's either me or Shannon, or we're gonna tag team it.
We'll do it together.
Yeah,
How does that sound?
that
Sounds
sounds
great.
like a plan. The best of all possible worlds.
That's right.
I'm gonna steal Matt's.
And I can't remember, I think you introed this a little bit last time, Alex?
Yeah.
The concept of like the comprehensive plan is like a 10-year horizon, like visioning document, with the first step being outlining like the existing conditions of the town, the demographics, land uses, services we provide, jobs, that type of thing. The next step was we did a ton of community outreach to understand what do people want to continue to see, what would they like to see that's maybe new, what is important to them. And that ended up sort of forming like 6 different priority areas with themes like transportation, economic development, like resiliency and green space and recreation, cultural resources and historic resources. And so what the consulting team has done over the summer months is for all of these goals that we've identified through our public outreach, they dug through like all of our plans that we have, what other towns that are comparable are doing, and they started putting together these lists of like what are the things that we could do to move us toward each of these goals that was established in public outreach.
Is that working towards a master plan for the town?
Correct, exactly. We're calling it a comprehensive plan, but it's comparable to a master plan. Correct, exactly. So what we have that we're getting public outreach on now is, for these lists of strategies, do we think that they would work well here? Is it a great idea, but actually implementation would be challenging? So we're trying to start with various boards and committees that may be impacted by or responsible for some of these strategies to just start talking through like, get rid of it, it's not a good idea, keep it, we love it, or there are some of these that maybe we need a little bit of discussion around, either because folks need more information or just because there's disagreement about whether or not it's a good idea. So the staff has gone through, maybe Ilex when I say the staff, to bucket these strategies by board and committee. So this is the list that we have that seems to impact, or that the Zoning Board of Appeals would have the most interest in weighing in on. And then what we've been doing is we've just gone through every one of them and people just give their reaction of like, yes, definitely in, no, definitely out. And if you're sort of on the fence, that's where we could have a little bit of conversation and maybe take some notes about, you know, either concerns that you have or why you're a bit more hesitant to just say yes or no. So if that sounds like a good approach, maybe we can just get to it and go through each of the strategies one by one. On the left-hand-most side is the goal that the strategy is working towards. And then you have the strategy itself, and then you have a brief description of what the strategy is. So the first goal that we're really talking through is about revitalization of particular areas of town, specifically downtown, South Norwood, Vanderbilt Park, and other commercial areas. So this was an idea and something that we've already been doing, but expanding outdoor dining, shared plazas, and Norwood living rooms by streamlining parklets, patios, and pop-up retail permits. And the idea of this is, a lot of this has already been happening, particularly post-COVID, but streamlining the ability for retailers or commercial areas to do that. Does anybody have any gut feelings on
What's a Norwood living room?
that's?
It's a good question.
Yep.
So it must include alcohol.
Yeah. Some probably do.
The outdoor dining ones
Yep.
do.
Mhm.
So that's really outdoor dining? Is that
Yes.
what that is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like when everybody brings their lounge chairs and goes to the park for the summer concerts, I suppose.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think the idea is like small parklets on corners, outdoor dining on the sidewalk, outside of restaurants, just small gathering spaces.
I'll comment on the outdoor taking up parking spaces, and I walk my dogs all the time. And people stop me and say, you know, there's no place for, this is great that they've got that whole 6 spaces taken up, and they've got like 6 people, but I'm losing business because no one can find a place to park. And I especially would see that a problem in South Norwood where it's a little tighter, so I'm really not a big fan of how they take over half the street. I could see having a couple of tables on the sidewalk, and I know I'm not gonna change it here, they're gonna do it, so it's done, but I just don't see people out there every night eating. It's either too hot, too cold, rainy, and the other retail stores are being hurt by it. But that's just my observation of walking my dogs nightly around town. So I'm not really a big fan of that at all. I think it advantageous to one type of business and disadvantage to the others, and I don't see the return. That's how I feel about those. But everything else, I like the idea of parklets and pop-up retail permits. I like that.
Yeah, and I think in previous conversations with other groups, just concerned about like accessibility and folks either that need mobility assistance or stroller, like, you know, having
Yeah.
a hard time maneuvering because you're getting into the street for some of it and then you have to get back up on the curb
Yeah.
as well too,
Yeah.
so. Okay, yeah, anybody? This sounds like some of it sounds good, but when you start impacting parking and sidewalks, that maybe presents challenges.
And I think that also applies to the uptown.
Yeah, no, I'm talking
Yeah.
not just South Norwood,
Yeah.
it's mostly the uptown, and I just don't see the people out there for all the spaces that they're taking.
Yeah.
And I think it still can be accommodated just on the sidewalk. You just don't have to build these big, ridiculous sized patios and Jersey barriers and trees and everything. I just, not a fan.
Okay. Next one is update design standards in business districts to place new buildings closer to the sidewalk, creating active frontages and a comfortable pedestrian environment.
I like that idea, but everybody tells me that we never should have voted for the one in South Norwood because it's too close to the street. The one that we had with us last week, trying to change the perpetuity. What was
Right,
the what was the address? Washington
Yeah.
Street.
It's,
Well,
I think, 1223.
Yeah.
It looks, I live on Concord Ave, and I think the building is actually looking really good.
I think it looks great, but people say, why'd you let it build it? But I agree with you guys came up with that. It brings out people and you're close and there's activity. I think the building looks great.
And the color choice of the white is
Yeah.
not offensive in any way.
No, No, I actually like that, so
Some of the concerns
that.
were pulling out and turning from the side street. I mean, there's still like construction fencing up, so it's probably hard to assess how challenging that maneuvering is, but I'd be curious to see once it's done and everything else was like cleared
yeah.
out of the way, if it ends up being,
So it's only 8 units, so I don't,
Yeah.
the
From like
traffic
a
impact.
general, like zoning as opposed to like special permit or comprehensive permit is the activation of the first floor for public use.
Mm.
So retail,
Yeah, yeah.
restaurant, but not residential, apart from like a special comprehensive
Right,
permit
yeah.
type of thing. Because that's what's gonna draw like the pedestrians and the walkers.
To win, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I like that.
great. So we're moving to a different goal now about modernizing zoning and land use to enable a flexible mix of businesses and gathering spaces. So the first idea was around rezoning limited manufacturing areas for flexible innovation use, things like light industry studios, small-scale logistics, while adding buffering standards where these districts meet neighborhoods. I think, and maybe some of that is acknowledging that like industry has changed a bit and maybe like commercial needs has changed a bit, but maybe they are not all readily fitting into descriptions that we have in zoning about allowable uses.
Makes sense.
Okay. Next is updating the zoning bylaw to clarify use definitions and add new categories. For example, third spaces, co-working, maker markets, so community gathering uses are clearly permitted. This feels somewhat similar to the first one, but even lighter in terms of the industrial use of the use. And I guess I think about sort of the work bar space that's at the Space Center or other places like that is what comes to mind when we think about this type of community gathering space and use.
What's the third space?
I think third space is really like a place where the community can come together that's not home and work, I guess is how I would describe
So,
that.
like live, work, play.
Coffee shop,
Yeah,
bars, or like
community center.
the library,
Yeah,
or something like that.
right, yeah,
From an implementation standpoint, like idea, sounds
Yep.
fine.
Mm.
Definitions, like
Yeah.
it could be very like difficult
yep,
to include what we want to include and exclude what we want to exclude unless we're like very specific with the definitions.
yep.
Makes sense.
So that would need to be pretty specific in order for it to be both helpful and also what we mean to allow. Okay. The next one is create a mixed-use zoning overlay in South Norwood using ground floor activation rules and reduced parking ratios. So this is not super undifferent to like updating the design to standards that we've already talked about, but it is sort of targeting in on South Norwood specifically. And I think Rachel's note applies to this one in terms of, right, what you're permitting on the first floor is important.
The only complaint I hear about mixed use, about overlay districts is it takes a lot of the public participation out of it. And it, over the years, what I've seen, as they've done the overlay district, it has taken us out of it and reduced us to porches and patios.
Taking us out of it as well.
Yeah, right, it's taken us, that's what I said, it's and reduced us to basically porches and patios. So that's, I understand the thinking on it, but I think there should be, when you put in these overlay districts, it's just site plan review. And I think there's a lot to be desired about public participation in that regard, so. And then that's not just on this one, that's been my feeling on all of them, quite frankly. And then if we don't do it right, we have the issues that you folks are dealing with the Route 1 highway overlay that, it's been a disaster and a nightmare. I watched the meeting last night, and That's gonna, planning board's got their hands full with that one, but that's just my comment on it, so, I guess there's a is M for neutral?
Right, M is maybe.
Maybe,
Yep.
yeah.
What
Or-
is, what district does like Washington Street in South Norwood? Is that G? What is that?
Yeah, general business.
Yeah.
And then it's mostly general residence on the, once you get away from Washington
Yeah.
Street.
I would rather see a broader definition
Right.
of, like, general business retail, or, define that further down to achieve the goal that you're trying to achieve, but without putting another overlay district over it.
Yeah.
Yep. Great. Great. Next is we're moving on to protecting Norwood's natural resources and landscapes. So this first one is incorporate low-impact development requirements in zoning to balance industrial, commercial, and residential growth near waterways and wetlands.
Well, we already have wetlands laws that say there's a 100-foot buffer. I mean, if you had this in here now, you wouldn't have FM Global, right? Because there's a stream that goes underneath that, right? Isn't there? And there's a stream in the back of that.
The river is closer to the hotel. FM Global is
Yeah.
more than 200 feet away from the river.
Is that a recognized river where it would fall under the Riverlands Protection Act of 200 feet?
Yeah, it's the Neponset is the
It's
one
the
that goes by the
okay, yeah.
hotel, but
Yeah.
FM, when they did their redevelopment, didn't have to file
Right,
with the
yeah.
Concom.
Yeah, I just think that I would be against that, because I think that the state laws that are in place now, with the 100-foot buffer zone of wetlands and 200-foot on river front, that was just, for me.
Next one is implement tree protection bylaw, general or in zoning.
I like that. The only thing I think you gotta watch out for that, and the town of Abington did it, they, even with in normal development, if you're clearing the land wherever you're putting the building, you don't have to replicate all the trees you take down. And then once outside of the development area, it's 2 for 1 or whatever it is to build up what you took down. They actually have a zoning ordinance that says whatever tree you take down, I think it's a caliper of 5, even if it's in where you're gonna put the building, you have to replace it 3 to 1. And guess what? We get approved, and we're not building it.
Right.
We're not building it. It's just like, we're not gonna put, because there's a lot of trees, right? There was 6 contractor bays, and you're talking about 150 trees times 3. Trees are expensive, if you haven't been to Levels. They're expensive, so as long as it's written to say, if it's in the development area, you don't have to replace the trees. Outside of the area, yes, there should be a plan that says there should be more trees and everything like that. Does that make sense? Like,
But is
I'm
that
gonna
already-
put a building right
Yeah.
here, and I've gotta clear all these trees. And that's
Right.
the only way it's gonna get built. And if you expect me to replace these at that level of, like they have 3 to 1, and they had just recently changed it. It was never that way before. It was always, wherever you develop, you clear the trees, don't have to replace them. Outside of the area, you gotta replace.
Right.
Which makes sense. But, so I just think that has to be carefully written if you're looking for that type of development.
Was that specific just to Abington though, or is that a
Yeah,
state
no, that
law
was,
that
no,
you
that's
have?
theirs, that's
Oh, it
theirs.
is,
yeah.
Most, and we have it right now, if you're clearing the land for a building, you don't have to replace those trees.
Right.
But outside the area, yeah, you should be able to do that, and you can do it, and still have a tree program to make sure you plant trees, and I'm sure Deb Homeward has something already written up for them.
I'm wondering if maybe we could do like thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs
just-
sideways, so we
I'm
like
just,
get
I'm just writing yay, nay, or
Yeah, yeah,
M,
yeah.
and then I'll hand it over to you guys.
No, I
Or if people prefer
Yeah.
to, you can also fill out your like yes, no, maybe on your sheets, and we can take the sheets at the end of the night.
Yeah.
too, maybe as a way of getting like everybody's.
I just want to make sure we're
Okay.
hearing from all the board members.
I'll shut up, I'm talking too much.
No, you're not. I just also want everyone else to talk.
I mean, just to chime in, like, definition, scope, like,
Yeah.
what is a development area? Because
Yeah.
the entire lot could be the development area, or is it just strictly where the structure is
Structures, yeah.
going? Is it, do like porticos or patios, does that count as a development area? I mean, I think
Right.
that you're looking at, where am I putting the structure, like the building that's going to be like actually occupied, and any of the like surrounding accessory uses of like patio, parking lot, like the shed, that probably should be excluded. But I mean, I like trees. I want to, you know,
No,
definitions.
Yeah, no, I agree with you
Yeah.
100%. Because usually the area is just the build area.
Yeah.
And then, but it has to be clearly defined. And I think any zoning has to be clearly defined, and
Right.
even that issue that I hope comes out of this, that if your property is into zoning district, the zoning district, either most restrictive or least restrictive, however your committee feels is best, which is fine, but we shouldn't have to deal with that. But-
Okay. Moving on to a separate goal, and this is really around municipal services and sort of people's access to and participation in services and decision-making. Adopt a language access protocol for all municipal services, including on-call translation for meetings and resident interactions.
Like the thought, I think you just maybe have to add something to our public hearing, that if somebody, if the city of Boston, they publish it in every language, but they do have, if you're hearing impaired, if you're vision impaired, they have the headphones, and they have different stuff, so, maybe we could add that to us. If you speak a second language, please contact prior to the meeting, and arrangements can be made.
And I guess it depends on what on-call
you're
translation
not-
means. It's very challenging to have
That's
someone
very
appear at
challenging.
a public
Yeah.
meeting
Yeah.
and not knowing ahead of time what services they
Yeah,
would
they
need.
need, yeah.
Accommodations.
Yeah, so maybe we add it to our public hearings, that if you're in need of assistance, either language or physical or mental disability, please notify us 1 week before the hearing.
And I know that when we have done it in the past too, we place that part of the, even if the whole public hearing in whatever the top 5, you know what I mean? It's, saying it in English is not helpful for someone who doesn't speak English, that they can receive,
Yeah.
language or access services. So I guess trying to establish what languages we might want to provide that in based on
Yeah, that's a
people
hard
speak
one.
here, because you'd
Yeah.
have to sort of you'd have to make the offer for services in the language that a person speaks in order for them to be able to most readily get the services.
Do we happen to know what language is second spoken after English in Norwood? Like, is it Portuguese, is it Italian, is it Spanish? Any
I
idea?
think that it's Spanish and then Portuguese.
Yeah,
The schools
yeah.
have some good information about
Yeah,
wh-
yeah.
what their families are speaking at home.
Yeah.
And just a logistics question, like, do we have like an on-call contract? Like, say we did receive a request for live Spanish translation, I guess, how do we procure that type of service?
Yeah, so I think that's what this strategy is looking to address,
Okay.
is that there's not a protocol that is sort of like every staff or every
Yep.
board, knows what to do when the issue comes up. So our department we do have a contract with it's actually a state contract that we use. We have an interpreter that
Yep.
we have used before for things like interpreting brochures. And at one point at a conservation commission meeting, we had somebody come in to do ASL interpretation during the meeting through that company. But it's currently sort of like a very piecemeal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like if we identify a system and like use it, then it would be efficient, it would be less expensive, it would be easier to access. Maybe talk with, like, to your point, the schools, because, like, all the notices we get, it's like, click here to read in
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
It's a little harder when you're, like, in a live meeting and you need someone to real time, but yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like a big yes, just figuring out how to do it efficiently.
Yep.
Yep. Digitize ComDev files to improve security of municipal records and improve access for residents and current potential businesses.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm going to put in my pitch that I would
Yeah.
love, and maybe some people think it's like extraneous information, the historical building jacket for whatever's coming before us.
Yep.
What were the prior applications? What were the prior opinions? Grants, denials, like I think the history of the property, not the applicant, but the property would be really helpful. And sometimes I remember to ask for it. And when I ask for it, I get it.
Yeah.
But like just having it be consistent and having it already digitized, easy to pull up at everyone's fingertips.
I will say, if we digitize, we would also want to make the next step of also like tagging the metadata to make sure that once it is digitized, you can actually like
Find it.
search it
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
pull information
Yeah.
from it.
Yeah.
Because sometimes just having a whole bunch of PDFs digitized is not always efficient or helpful for finding out information. Okay. Expand GIS capabilities by training staff and coordinating management of data across departments.
Absolutely, right? It's a
Yep.
good one.
Use multilingual polls and online tools to gather diverse resident input. I think that this is helpful for something like policy setting or like a comprehensive plan. I'm assuming this is not the type of thing that we would be trying to roll out for like discrete
Yeah,
public hearings.
Yeah, just major issues
Right.
that affect the town.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't want to pull everything, you'll never get anything done.
Right.
Yeah,
Um,
I kind of on that point, from 6B3 down, actually, I guess maybe all of 6B, my comment was like, why is a CBA? Like,
Right.
it just
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
seem like a
Right.
ZBA public hearing
Right.
piece.
Yeah, I think this is just, do you want to hear from us? Yes, yeah, I agree with some of this stuff doesn't,
Yeah.
but it makes sense to do.
Forum district level engagement teams to host neighborhood forums. This felt a little bit to me like
No.
sort of the purpose of town meeting
Yeah.
members
I
and
know,
roles that they serve.
Yeah.
So this seems redundant of maybe other efforts.
The only thing I would recommend on that, for both, now more so the planning board, for major projects, the developer has to do a neighborhood meeting prior to coming to the planning board and zoning board. It's like that at every city and town. And that way, it gets hashed out at that neighborhood meeting. And they know the issues, and then in Boston, if you don't have a neighborhood meeting, you don't get heard. It's like, when was your neighborhood meeting? And the person that ran it would say, and they would actually, who's favor, who's against it. But yeah, a lot of those issues that have come before us, and then we continue it, and then we finally get to that stuff. The Washington Street one we were just talking about,
Right.
16, 12, 8. I think for major projects now, to your point, definitions, you have to define a major project. But I think any neighborhood project, the developer has to do what they have to do in every other single town in the Commonwealth and city, is have a neighborhood meeting and get the consensus of the neighborhood, hear the neighbors' concerns, and then incorporate the neighborhood concerns into their plan, and then come here. So that would be my only thing on that.
It's presumably more efficient for the developer too, so then you're not spending more
They're not
legal
gonna get-
design time and legal fees
Yeah,
time.
yeah, it's more efficient, and it's just more efficient altogether. And if you were talking about getting people involved, it's certainly because we're limited, right? We're kind of limited, right? Sometimes we let them go on too much, but if I think it's a major issue that, all right, let's everybody be heard. But then, it might cut down on Dave Hearn's time before us.
Right.
But it also worked out on Washington Street, that the neighbors were concerned,
Right.
and they came and showed up for the
Yeah.
meetings.
Yeah, so what I'm saying, if they had the developer had a neighborhood
Right.
meeting first and met with the neighbors and heard those concerns and then did their plans and say, look, we heard from the neighbors, this is what they want, this is what we want to do. Instead of coming here and putting it on us and expecting us to take a vote when you have all these people here that are against it. But at the last meeting, there was nobody here, right? So,
That's right.
But we kind of did the neighborhood meetings
Right.
as the ZBA. So I think for major projects and definition is up to you to decide. There should be a neighborhood meeting prior to appearing before the board. And if you don't have the neighborhood meeting, then you don't appear before the board.
So the next one, I think is a yes for me, but not directly relevant in terms of increasing voter turnout and participation. The next one, run recurring community satisfaction surveys and listening sessions to refine outreach. That one is too general, it seems like, to be able to be giving too much input. Refining outreach on what, I guess.
Yeah,
So I have a no. Publish resource guides and chat tools to help residents locate town services. That feels like sort of beyond the scope of ZBA, but probably a helpful thing, particularly
Yeah.
if it's helping residents find like ZBA
Yeah.
page or meeting information.
The one thing I would say-
it'd be nice if you go in there, like you
Yeah.
can go on to Boston and go in the jacket and you can find everything about the
Everything.
property. Yeah, so
Yeah.
you use it.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
The one thing I would say on like hired ambassadors, like anything that's like costing money, like I think we need to like weigh the benefits versus the costs, and some of the like high impact, low expense, I think would be better. Improving the town website, like across the board, will probably have massive positive impacts, and we can implement some of these things, but kind of like some of the above and beyonds might be like after we cover the bases.
Yep. Yeah. Website updates, generally speaking, would be helpful
Yeah.
for that 6B7. Increase disability services awareness through public campaigns and mobility guides. Seems like a yes, but not necessarily
Doesn't,
relevant or impactful for us specifically. Evalu-
other than just having some language on all our public notices that says if you need assistance, please call this number by this date, so we can provide it for us.
Yeah.
Or language, that way we'll know. Other than that,
Evaluate how residents and businesses access services, and focus on the barriers such as language, mobility, and opportunities for participation. I think that would inform what the information is that we would put in our public notices that we could let people know were available. And then last one is create an integrated GIS and digital records platform that archives maps and documents and makes them publicly accessible. So that almost feels like the first idea of digitizing, but making it available, I guess, on like the public-facing website, not just to like staff and boards.
And I almost think like what I was thinking about with the first one was like individual property records.
Yeah.
And this one is more like, what's the historical zoning code? What are our historical maps? Because when you get into the weeds on it, what was the zoning on, April 13th, 1992, like actually could make a difference. And having that readily available
Yep.
would be helpful too.
Yeah, I do think this one is speaking to individual properties too. Because, like,
Yeah.
the intent being that like you could go on the GIS and look up an address and find, here's all of their building permits, and here's all
Yeah.
of their, ZBA decisions.
Yeah, I think both.
but to your point, it's the cost
Yeah,
It's the cost.
like, I think that would be like a work our way backwards type of thing.
Yeah.
Feels like a intensive summer intern
Yeah.
position,
Yeah.
like a library science summer intern to churn through some of the files. And then we'll just make a note too that, you know, is it duplicative or saying something different from 6A11 as well. And then how many optionals do we have? How are people feeling?
So these green ones
Yeah.
are like related to changing the zoning. And in a sort of, a lot of the first ones that we had were related to like zoning changes related to uses,
Yep.
which I put there because the ZBA looks at sort of like strange uses or a use in an unusual place fairly often. And these are more general, like changes to the zoning bylaw.
So enabling diverse small-scale housing options in growth districts such as Norwood Center and the business districts to expand choices for seniors, families, and first-time buyers. Examples include cottage courts, townhomes, and upper-story residential above retail. I feel like that's sort of what we talked about
Yeah.
with like the South Norwood, like first floor activation.
So Norwood has 0 55-plus communities, right? 0. And now we're going to town meeting to buy, for millions of dollars, with money we don't have, to buy the Kosky Farms. And why wouldn't we zone that as a plus 55 community to give seniors an opportunity to live there where we have no 55 community? Probably one of the only towns that doesn't have a 55 plus. And we're going to take all that acreage, and, you know, we have plenty of conservation, there's plenty of parks and fields here, to overpay it and lose all the taxes. And I see that as just a waste of taxpayer money, especially when we don't have a 55-plus community in this town. And I think, I hope it gets defeated, and I hope it goes to the market, but we can zone that now as a 55-plus community, right? We can zone that. You're looking at me funny.
Yeah, I'm not sure about age restrictions in zoning. I'd have to learn more
No,
about that.
you know, it's
Yeah,
legal.
it is.
It's legal, every community has it, and the age restriction is 80% of the people, one person has to be 55 or over. We don't have one of those, and I think there's a need for it because, you know, I can see the other side. We don't want development because what they'll do, they'll build those $1.5 million houses and no one will be able to afford it, right? This is an opportunity to let them sell that as a 55 plus. And there's developers that specialize in that, and they know how to make money with how they do it. And, you know, just, and for people with disabilities, you can build those type of homes. But that's a lot of money for a town that wants to do 2 overrides. And then you want us to spend, I don't know, I was reading it the other day, how much millions is it? And then, by the way, let's throw in a few more houses.
So that sounds like a yes then for housing options.
Yeah,
Yep.
but here's an opportunity to do it, and I hope we're not gonna miss out on that opportunity.
Next is review existing zoning and provide dimensional flexibility, density bonuses, or other amendments in target areas to support feasible redevelopment of constrained sites, especially for small multifamily duplex and townhome projects. So,
I think the density bonuses definitely have to be tied into the affordability picture, right?
yep.
If that's the goal, to create more affordable housing, you have to, that has to be part of the density bonus. Whatever your FAR is, and we'll reduce it to this if you make 20% of your project, without doing a 40B, a project affordable. So,
And I think kind of like what we did with the transit-oriented
Yeah.
development, really looking at where are we looking for redevelopment and targeting those areas as opposed to like tacking it on as a use to a district overall. Because what I wouldn't want to see happen is just losing the character of the districts because they all become the same.
Right. Yep. Next is revised zoning to allow co-housing and conservation cluster subdivisions in residential districts. You might have to help with that, Alex, if you have more information
Yeah.
about that concept.
I have a feeling that this is similar to what Mike was describing with the 55-plus community. The idea would be that if you had a tract of land where you're going to put in a subdivision, say under the regular zoning, you could fit 15 lots. A cluster subdivision would say, well, we will allow you to make those lots smaller, so you don't have to spend as much on your road, you don't have to spend as much on your utilities, and in return, you preserve the green space in the back or on the side or whatever it is.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And you know.
Good example of that is on Route 27 in Medfield, right after you go over the Walpole-Medfield line.
Yeah,
There's a cluster on the right-hand side
side,
that they did.
yeah. Yeah, cluster zoning, that's a good one.
Amend, create, or expand mixed-use overlay districts along key corridors and infrastructure-rich nodes, for example, Washington Street commuter rail station areas, to reinvest in buildings and...
Transfer over to-
Sorry, I can. In buildings and
I mean, it feels like some of this has already been
enable
done.
higher density residential office.
Yeah. The office market's dead, it's not coming back.
Mixed income development.
I mean, it feels like the MBTA communities
Yeah.
zoning sort of targeted some of these similar concepts and types of areas. So,
Yeah, I think just with the concept of the existing utilities, I think we'd have to bake in the aggregate impact on the existing, and it may require upgrades and expanded capacity on those.
yep.
Yeah, to your point, I think the MBTA answered that, so. And to my other point against overlay districts.
Yep. Okay, final stretch here. Adopt smart growth zoning 40R or form-based codes in town centers and older neighborhoods to guide compatible design, encourage missing middle housing, and allow taller, walkable residential buildings near
Near
shops,
shops,
parks, and transit.
I think on that too, what I would like to see, they kind of did it in Lexington and did it the right way. Like we got that strip of Washington Street that's kind of dead by St. Catherine's Church, and then, you know, you go up where the bakeries used to be. You know, they're kind of dead. I think if you keep that retail and then let them go up 3 stories residential, now you'll have people that will come down and shop at those shops, and you'll create that atmosphere. I don't suggest, you know, how vertical you want to go, but if you look at what Lexington did, they did something similar to that, and it wasn't big apartment buildings, they just went up like 4 stories, so they had the retail, and then they put the apartments above it, and, you know, 20, 30 units on each side of that will put 60, 70, 100 people there. You can walk to the train, they're gonna use the stores. I mean, that's a kind of a dead area, you know, from the light at Town Hall to the, you know, to the nursing home.
Right.
You know, there's that little strip of stores across from the cemetery almost,
And
yeah.
that's like maybe just out of the Norwood Depot catchment
It's
area?
definitely out of
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
it's
we didn't
definitely out
quite,
of it,
we
yeah.
didn't quite get that far.
Yeah, it's definitely out of it, so
Yeah.
I could see something like that, and I think it gives you a nice look, you know,
Yeah.
a nice look aligned. But, yeah, a perfect example, and I think Sarah worked on it, is what they did in Islington. That's a perfect example, and that area is booming, that Muffin House,
Yep.
and that Italian restaurant, they're always crowded, and they get the
gym,
residents.
yeah.
Yeah, and they did the residents right, they went up like 2 stories, and then they pushed back and went up 3 or 4 stories, so they did it right. I think that area is prime for that, on both sides of that street.
You do with the parking though.
Huh?
You got the town lots in the back there, how do you,
Well, what they did there in, the one in Islington, they parked behind it. They
that
get-
was there.
Yeah, they get the parking lot behind it, so you can get some parking there. But in some cases, it's, we're talking about transit development, you can throw a rock to the train station there
Yeah,
at Norwood Depot, so that's what you kind of
you
want.
worked that into a requirement.
Yeah, yeah.
Great. Expanding the multifamily zoning district to include neighborhoods with current multifamily homes to allow expansion or redevelopment by right. I don't have a great sense of how much of our multifamily zoning district isn't aligning with our neighborhoods that have large swaths of multifamily. Was this
There's a good number of
Okay.
multifamily developments that aren't in multifamily zones.
Okay.
Norwood's multifamily districts, I think there's really only 3 of them.
Okay.
And it's Windsor Gardens, there's one on Dean Street
Yep.
near the railroad bridge. And then there's one closer to the north side of town. So
Okay.
there's a number of multifamily developments throughout town that
don't align with
don't
the
align.
mapping?
Right.
Okay.
Well,
As
right
well
at-
as, of course, every 3-family
Right.
is also a multifamily.
Right.
Right. Our zoning goes like single family, duplex, multifamily. So we also have obviously lots of triple deckers and fourplexes and that kind of thing that are in general residence or other residential zones.
Yeah, and even that area that we were talking about in Washington, then you go to South Norwood, you get Helen's Liquor Store there. That would be a nice place to put retail, and then 3 or 4 stories above it, and even across the street.
Yeah, so this sounds like an opportunity similar to some of the other concepts that we had talked through. Streamline land use approvals through planning board reform by simplifying zoning language and replacing multi-step reviews with a single coordinated process that considers infrastructure capacity early.
All for streamlining permitting, but you gotta be careful when you do that.
Maybe this one needs a little bit more.
Yeah. I don't
Like,
think we're
is
ready
there,
for that.
other particular steps that feel redundant that could be?
Like more specificity.
Yeah, exactly. on
More
what-
specificity,
Yeah.
and, we should take a position on waivers, not only this board, the planning board. I mean, I don't like developers come before us and we're asking for waivers. That should be in the packet, and I think we should just say no, right? You don't get any waivers in any other city or towns that I've worked in. You don't get the waivers. And it's like, no, this is what you gotta do. We're giving waivers to big developers, and we're making this person that was just here before us spend $1,800 to give us a survey, right? And then we've had people come before us, I want a waiver on the survey because it costs too much money. To me, that's BS. So I don't know, if we're gonna strengthen these up, no waiver, and no presenting stuff coming up here at the meeting saying, here. No, if it's not in the packet, then we're not gonna accept it. We're way too lax on that, and please don't take this as anything against what you folks do, Alex. I just think we
No,
got.
I think we love that idea of
Yeah, okay.
not having people give the board new
Yeah.
information
Right.
at the meeting.
Yeah, it happened last night. They had a complete new plan. And they expect them, and then, oh, you want 2 minutes to read it? No, I want 20 minutes, 2 hours to read it.
See you next month.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we gotta be strict on the waivers. I mean, we, as a board, could take that vote right now, or, excuse me, put it on the docket next month and take a vote that said we will no longer accept any waivers and we will no longer accept anything presented as evidence past the application, you know, the date that you have in your thing. We could do that as a board, but I think it should be a general policy across for conservation, planning, zoning, so we're all consistent. Because you'll have an attorney say, well, I don't have to do that for the planning board. Why are you making me do it? Right? That's like my kids, right? Well, I took out the trash the last time. Why do I get to take it out again? Right? And anyway, just,
Yeah, I mean, we could take a refresh on, is it our rules and regs or our,
Right, yeah,
whatever we
yeah.
call them
Right.
Yeah.
Which I thought we,
separately.
especially for things like deadlines for
Yeah,
submitting things,
but-
I'm pretty sure
We
put
did
that
do
in
some
there.
of that
Yeah, we've
stuff.
done it, but it's been like at least a year.
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
been more like 18
It
I
months.
don't think
It
we
hasn't.
tackled waivers though specifically
no,
in
but
that last
but
time.
just to my point, I think we want to be consistent because you will have a developer say, the planning board didn't make, and what they'll do, when they sue us for not giving what they want, whatever board is, they'll put it in there as an inconsistency, and this was unfair to my client, and you being a lawyer, you know all attorneys do. Let's just throw as much mud and see what sticks. And you know, and you might have a judge say, you know, they're right, how are they supposed to know you got 3 different set of rules? So I'm just looking at it that way.
Well, that's something to be said, not just streamlining within boards, but sort of
But-
thinking about consistency across
Yeah.
requirements of boards. Yep.
And that's why putting a goal like this in the comprehensive plan,
Mhm.
you know, can be really helpful because this is something that
Right.
can apply to
Mm-hmm.
the town.
But I agree to streamlining it.
Yeah, to the extent though that it says like streamline land use approvals through planning board reform, I mean, ZBA is ZBA, planning
Right.
board is planning board, Concom is Concom, like they are discrete entities that
Yeah.
like can't
For a purpose.
they can't mix, they can't go away. So to the extent that that was a comment just from a misunderstanding of like Massachusetts municipal governance, like
Yeah.
that's not something that we can do.
Right. Yeah. Yep. Adopt open space residential development zoning bylaw.
This is very similar to the cluster subdivision.
Okay.
And can just be lumped in with that.
So when you say that, are we increasing the lot size you need to build a home?
No,
So you can have so much open space and,
no, it's similar to what I was describing for where you would decrease the amount of, like, the lot size for each home and then conserve the rest of the space as
so the
open
clusters.
space.
And this is for I take that this is for multifamily and not for a single family?
It could be
I usually
single
think of it for single families.
Okay.
or like townhomes,
Or
Yeah,
like
okay,
duplex.
Yeah.
On that open space, is it typically reserved for the use of the homeowners in the neighborhood, or is it typically open to the public?
It can be done either way. Most towns that have something like this will require that, like, there's a restriction or an easement on the property to ensure that it can't be developed, but it can be either retained within like a homeowners association or donated to the town or donated to another conservation agency like Mass Audubon or someone like that. So, yeah, very dependent on how it's written and
Definition.
Space too.
and what the how the develop, like a lot of times there's an option, right? You can donate the land, no one has to pay taxes on it, or you can keep it for the use of your residents, but it's still providing the community the benefits of
Yeah.
habitat and whatever else.
Okay. Require new development on mixed-use corridors to build or fund active transportation links using zoning incentives or mitigation agreements to extend sidewalks and bike paths as growth occurs.
We should do more linkage for things like this, but not only just for transportation, but also for money into the affordable housing. We have an affordable housing trust fund, right? No? Well, we should put that in there.
That is one of the strategies that's in there.
Yeah.
It didn't make it onto the ZBA's
Yeah.
list of strategies, but that is in there.
require new mixed-use or large commercial projects to fund last-mile improvements like sidewalks, bike lanes, or shuttle passes that connect directly to transit.
And I also should put in there, streetlights, not, streetlights and also traffic signals, right? We should have the ability, and we've talked about that on the one in Washington Street, that we, you know, people were concerned about coming out.
Oh, with the
Having a
pedestrian
flashing
crossing,
light and a
right.
pedestrian crossing, we should have that in there too. That, you know, hey, okay, if you want to build this 100 units, you need to have a flashing light or something like that.
And I would say like capital improvements and
Yeah.
like not shuttle passes because
Yeah, I don't- yeah.
that disappears.
Yeah, right, I would take that out too.
Yeah.
Yeah, something that's real that you can touch and see.
Yep.
Capital improvements to improve safety and, you know, flow of traffic.
And I do like the concept of the
Yeah.
linkage
Yeah.
with the different neighborhoods. At the info session last night for town meeting, everyone was just saying how hard it is to get from one side of Norwood to the other, or from
Yeah.
one side of Route 1 to the other. And so if there are, like, especially larger or more complex developments, like, I think it benefits everyone, including the owner of that development, to make it accessible kind of both ways to and from.
Yep. Right.
Eliminate the speedway on Westwood Drive in my neighborhood, because you see someone up there and you know if you don't catch that light, it's 6 minutes that you're stuck at it, so you just floor it. And the light is only for 30 seconds, 4 cars. And
There are a
then-
few lights like that.
And then in the morning, you're sitting there and you're at your risk for all the cars come off 95 to get Route 1 to get 121
Oh, you're off the
again.
Ponset, close to.
Oh, I'm at
yeah.
the last street, and
Yeah. Oh,
they
man.
run through that red
Yeah.
light, and they tell the chief all the time, it's very easy to generate a lot of money, because they're usually Rhode Island plates.
So
The
I
worst
want
drivers
Those
to,
Rhode
in the world.
Islanders, yeah.
those Rhode Islanders.
Yeah, the worst drivers.
I want to put in a plug for anyone who might be watching this meeting on NCM, that if you go to the comprehensive plan website, which is tinyurl.com/NorwoodCP, there is a goal prioritization survey that we are inviting all members of the general public to take, and then we're also having an open house on December 8th, where we'll be doing something like this with members of the public, so join us.
Great. Do you mind if I take your packets?
Yes,
Even if it's like
yes,
incomplete or
yep.
scribbly?
If you can read
or-
my-
Yep.
Writing, very good, thank you. Shannon, and you were also on that committee, right? Rachel, you were on that?
I was not,
Oh,
no.
okay, thank you, Shannon, thank you.
Yep.
Alex.
Yeah,
We all received the correspondence regarding case 24-23. It's not for discussion, just for your information, so we'll place that on file. And we have before us the approval of the meeting schedule. We checked on any election days.
I did. I checked with
Okay.
the clerk's office.
And
Okay.
Veterans Day
Great, and
next year? That was the only other one I could.
That would be 11, yeah, that would be
Okay,
the 11th.
great.
Yeah,
Yep.
11th day of the 11th hour
Yeah.
of the
Is that-
11th month.
Yeah.
That
Okay.
was the end of
Yep.
World War I.
Great.
We teach history here, so you're... Yeah, so if everyone's had a chance to review it, that will be fine. And we'll entertain a motion to approve the zoning board, Norwood zoning board hearing schedule for 2026.
So moved?
Motion's been made, is there a second?
Second?
Seconded by Al. Al on the motion.
Yes.
Rachel?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes?
Dan? Yes. Okay, that's approved. In the minutes, as I pointed out, there was an O'Brien, but we have an O'Neill, and Mr. Hearn's name was spelled once incorrectly in the Pleasant Street case, and I think that was just the N is next to the M, so it was H-E-R-M. instead of H-E, and I do that all the
Oh,
time,
yeah,
so-
I caught another
Yeah, and there's another one,
typo, HELM,
H-E-L-M, yeah, so,
but
so just
other
if
than the
they.
typographical.
Yeah, so they certainly can, I didn't see any language, all looked fine to me, so we can entertain a motion that with those corrections that the subscriber, what do they call those, Scrivener's errors, what's that word?
Scrivener?
Scriveners, yeah, yeah. Attorneys
So
like
moved.
that word. Motion's been made to approve the minutes of October 7, 2025.
As scrivener's.
As
Second.
amended, as scrivener. Second. On the motion? Everybody, yes?
Yes.
Yes, okay. And entertain a motion to adjourn.
So
So
moved?
moved.
And
Speech.
made by Shannon, seconded by Al. On the motion?
Yes.
Yes, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.